Hey there, happy Money Monday. Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Abundant podcast. And I'm really excited for this week's episode because for the past week, I have been reflecting on this launch that I just finished for the group round of Empowered Abundance, the April group round of Empowered Abundance that just started last week when I'm recording this. And I reflected back and recognized that I was actively launching this program and like planning it, thinking about it, creating it, and then actively launching it for exactly 2 months, which is a lot of time to dedicate into one specific business activity, one specific project, and it requires a lot of effort and energy to successfully launch something like that. And I also realized while I was doing this launch that this was my seventh launch of the Empowered Abundance program. And over the past 5 years of my business, I've done more launches. I've launched other, mini programs. I tried to launch my first program ever called Start with Center back in 2021, within the first year of my business. But setting all of that aside and just looking at Empowered Abundance, I have launched 7 times. And I'm really excited to tell you about what I have learned. I'm going to tell you the 7 lessons from my 7 launches. And let me share with you a little bit of the launch journey. So, the first time that I launched Empowered Abundance, I launched it as a one-on-one container back in January of 2022. And it did not look anything like it looks today. I believe it was 6 weeks of just one-on-one coaching, and that was it. And then in November of 2022, I attempted to launch a group for the first time when Empowered Abundance was a 3 month container. And I got 0 sales on that group. And I continued to sell it as a one-on-one and had a few different one-on-one clients throughout the period of time, and with these one-on-one clients I started to build the course. So not only was I having one-on-one sessions with my clients, I built the Empowered Abundance online course with videos and modules and curriculum, but it was still a 3 month container. And then in May of 2023, after working with a client who had just finished Empowered Abundance as a 3 month one-on-one, I launched a new program called Aligned Abundant Life. I believe I attempted this to be a group program, and I got one client who signed up, and it was the same client who just finished Empowered Abundance. And the reason why I include this launch of Aligned Abundant Life in my Empowered Abundance launches is because after that, in November of 2023, so later that same year, I decided to combine the 3 month Empowered Abundance program and the 3 month Align Your Life program and basically restructure and combine all of this together and launched the 2.0 version of Empowered Abundance as a one-on-one container. And I got a couple of sales through that, like through the launch, but also after the launch, and worked with a couple people in this new version of the one-on-one 6 month Empowered Abundance container. And I revamped the coursework and the modules and created almost 100 video lessons and worksheets and exercises. And then in March of 2024, I launched this new 6 month version of Empowered Abundance as a group and landed 3 clients in that group round. Then I launched it again in July of 2024 as a group and didn't sell any. Then I launched it again in October 2024 as a group and sold 3 again. And then I launched again this past January of 2025 as a group and sold 4. And then I just finished this launch for the April 2025 round and have sold a very successful three. And so that's been the journey overall. I just wanted to give you that context before I dive into the lessons because there's tons of lessons and you can really understand, how long it's taken me to do these 7 launches and what this journey has looked like. So let's dive right in. The first lesson is that a launch is really a catalyst for personal growth. Launches are just active periods of time where you are promoting your offer. So when I talk about launches, it could be a specific, like I'm launching this new thing, or it could be more of like an active marketing push where I'm dedicating a chunk of time to sell spots or book consults. And they have the long-term goal of signing clients, right? That's the goal of a launch is to sign clients. But I think it's important to recognize that this is a long-term goal. And so in order to be able to do that, to be able to sell on a launch, you have to become the person who is capable of selling during a launch. And this requires you to grow into that person. It's, I imagine, very rare for somebody to like just decide to become a coach, decide to start their business, be super confident and be like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing this launch, put in all this effort and energy and like instantly get 50 people to sign up. Maybe you do, and that's awesome, but you have to have a certain level of mindset, of energy, of commitment, drive, resilience in order to pull off the process of launching and also to land sales during that period of time. And so when you are launching, or something that I learned from my launch experience is that yes, it has the goal of signing clients, but if anything, the portal of the launch is really to push me to grow into the person who is capable of doing a launch and selling during that launch, right? You have to learn to grow the muscles of commitment, energy, drive, resilience by launching. And this is what I've learned from launch after launch is how to keep going, how to be committed, how to be resilient, how to pour as much value and service and attention into the launch. How to really put myself out there and share myself and my offers and my value for an extended period of time, and how to keep doing that even when I didn't achieve the goal that I set. And that's really the value of a launch. And that's the purpose of a launch is it is a potent catalyst for growth. And that's foundational, even more than landing the clients and landing the sales. If it is a catalyst for personal growth, that will then lead to the clients. Okay, so that's the first lesson. A launch is really a catalyst for personal growth. The second lesson is that you do not need to launch to make money. You don't need to launch to land clients. And from my own personal experience, like I'm not here to convince you to launch. You can be incredibly successful without launching. And in fact, I've made just as much money outside of these active launches than I have inside launches, if not more. And when I first started my business in 2020 and then hired my first business coach in 2021, working with her, she taught me the process of launching, the process of creating a niche, creating an offer, marketing regularly, posting on social media often, creating a freebie, doing a whole launch, having a launch chunk of time where I'm promoting regularly, having a goal for my group program, trying to book consults, trying to land sales. And even though I was doing all those steps and putting in all that effort and doing all these things, I landed zero sales from that. So, in fact, I wouldn't even recommend focusing on a launch in the beginning of your business. Instead, your focus should be on interacting with people, finding the marketing modalities that really work for you, and focusing on landing clients without all the extra fluff and the extra work, because that's what can happen in a launch is we can get sucked into doing the work, doing it right. That's what I did back in the day, was like, okay, I'm going to do 20 social media posts and 50 emails and this, that, and the other, and then magically clients are going to appear. But launching, the purpose of launching is about expansion, it's about growth, and it's about serving your audience. But you don't need that set chunk of time, this modality, in order to make money. You can make money without doing this formal launching strategy. And that has been a huge lesson for me is yes, I practice launching for the sake of expansion and growth and pushing myself and using it as a catalyst to expand and grow. But I like don't put all my eggs in that basket and I still continue to make money in my business outside of the active launch period. Okay, the third lesson is that it takes time to build momentum. Launching is a practice of building momentum, and it is not instant validation. That's what I expected when I did my first ever launch of the Start with Center program. Was I expected, okay, I'm going to do all of this and I'm going to get clients. But a launch is really just like an active period of time where you're putting yourself out there committedly and consistently, showing up fully, giving value, serving, and really cultivating that legit business owner energy. So when I didn't land clients, I was wondering, like, what am I doing wrong? There must be something wrong with me. What am I missing? I have failed. But after doing seven, I can see that I really wasn't doing anything wrong in the beginning. I was just new to my business. I was in the beginning stages of making my business happen. I was beginning to build momentum. I was becoming and in the process of becoming a successful coach and entrepreneur and leader and stepping fully into this identity. In the beginning, I didn't have the audience. I didn't know the people. Literally. I didn't know them. And so me just kind of spewing this information on Instagram and hoping that the right people would find me, yeah, sometimes that can happen and that's awesome. But at the same time, in order to launch, especially something like a group, like it requires you to build your audience and build that momentum. And so in those early launches when I thought I failed, yeah, I didn't achieve the goal I was expecting, but I was practicing becoming the successful entrepreneur and attracting the people, bringing and expanding my audience, building that momentum for the future, building the momentum now for my future launches. And that's really like the lesson that I have taken away is that it takes time to build momentum in your business, whether or not it's through launching or not, especially with online marketing. Recognize that you're not doing anything wrong. It just momentum takes time. And so being able to consistently keep showing up and keep doing it is what allows you to keep building the momentum, which leads me to lesson number 4, which is like two things. I couldn't really decide what to call it, so I'm going to call it both, which is energy before action and also commitment is key. The energy that you bring into a launch is what matters most. The energy that you bring into your business every day is what matters most because it is a practice of you embodying your sold out, legit business owner energy fully and then sharing that with people. That's what happens is the launch or the active marketing period is an opportunity for you to fully embody and practice embodying that sold out energy and be that person publicly. So for me, in my launch, this launch that I just did for Empowered Abundance, before I even started creating content, before I started planning, the first thing that I did was really tap into the energy of sold out Scarlett and saying, who is this person in this launch who is successful? How does she show up? What does she believe? What does she think? Because it doesn't matter what actions I take if I'm not fully tapped into this energy throughout my launch. It's not going to work. Right. And again, the launch is the catalyst for growth. It's the catalyst for becoming this person. And so tapping into the energy before the action is really important. And so what I did was I wrote down all of the most important things to focus on, the affirmations to focus on for me during this launch. And I have a really big mirror in my office. And I took dry erase markers and I wrote at the top of the mirror, sold out Scarlett. And I drew an arrow pointing down so that when I stand in front of the mirror, the arrow's pointing to me and I'm looking at myself and I'm like, this is sold out Scarlett. And then I wrote these affirmations around the mirror. And then every single day, I looked in the mirror before sitting down to do any work on my business, work on the launch, and I looked at these affirmations, read these affirmations, and felt them in my body and actively practice embodying sold out Scarlett. Now, let me share with you the affirmations that I wrote down because I believe that these really encompass the energy of being a successful, sold out, legit business owner. And I'm excited to share them with you. Okay, so the first one is it's already done. I am so excited for this launch. This gets to be so much fun to see who joins. I am calm. There is plenty of time. It's all getting done. I am bold and direct in service to my people. I'm confident in what I do. My offer is amazing. It changes lives. I use my creativity to connect with, inspire, and motivate my people. I fully experience the joy and bliss of this unfolding experience. I trust myself and the universe fully. This is all true now. Okay, those were my mirror affirmations. And I truly believe like this is the key to actually being able to land sales with more ease in your business in general, whether that's through a launch, through not a launch, just marketing, connections, an active marketing period, whatever it is, like when you're stepped into this energy and you allow this energy to lead and guide your action, and this is the energy that bleeds into all of your action, all of your marketing, all of your conversations, it's going to be so much easier for you to land sales. And again, this is why a launch is such a portal for growth because it's an opportunity for you to step into this energy. Back in the beginning, I was just doing the steps. I was focusing on the action and wondering why it wasn't working. And it's because I wasn't focusing on this and I didn't believe these things. And so even though I'm like doing all the right things in my business, I like wasn't fully confident in what I do. I didn't believe my offer was amazing, and that's repelling clients. I wasn't calm. I didn't think there was plenty of time. I thought I had to hustle and rush and stress out, right? And all of that energy bleeds into your ability to land sales. And so maintaining this self concept and this energetic alignment matters more than consistent doing because it doesn't matter what you do if your energy is out of alignment. And then the other piece of this is that maintaining your energy throughout the launch is so important so that you can keep going all the way to the end so that you can show up and deliver fully the value and the service. Otherwise, you'll quit halfway through. And trust me, I've done that too. Right. And this is why the other half of this lesson is not only energy before action, it's also commitment is key. And these two things go hand in hand because if you're doing the energetic work, the mental work, the self concept and identity work, then it's easier for you to keep going. It's easy for you to keep going even when you don't see the results that you expect, even when it feels hard and challenging. That's again the opportunity to practice and affirm this sold out energy, this legit business owner energy truths, especially when it feels hard or challenging. Right. And so for me in this launch, something that I did was I had more of a strategic plan for this launch than I ever have before. In past launches, I would like be like, okay, I'm gonna launch now. Oh my gosh, this is when I'm starting the program. I don't have a lot of time. I need to start right now. And then I would kind of like dive into it like really rapidly and write all my stuff and be in this like hustle energy and also um like create a really condensed timeline for myself. And then once I've done that and put in all the energy in the doing, then I'm like, oh, I'm not getting the results I wanted and feel like quitting halfway through and not going all the way to the end, not fully following through. And so for this launch, what I did was I really built a strategic plan, gave myself more time and space, and said, okay, this is when I'm going to launch. This is how much time I'm going to dedicate to planning. This is how much time I'm going to dedicate to creating. And then I'm going to follow through with the plan all the way to the end. Right. And that's a totally different energy to bring into a launch, but also your business when you treat it from this like grounded, strategic, solid place and then you're able to follow through all the way to the end because you're doing energy before action, because you're maintaining the energetic work so you are able to execute the plan and go all the way. Okay, the fifth lesson is that the purpose of a launch is to heal shadows and increase resilience. This is about holding your belief, right? Just like this energetic work we just talked about, holding your belief even when results are slow. During a launch, that is where all the gunk comes to the surface. And in fact, I would say that that is even the point of a launch specifically. Because again, you don't need a launch to make money. So why would you do a launch? And part of that is it's a catalyst for growth because it's where all the gunk comes to the surface. I have a coach, like a peer coach who I work with. We support each other. And I was talking to her throughout this launch, and I was telling her about the gunk that was coming up to the surface for me. And something that she said, and I thought this was so great. She was like, a launch is literally a seance of your own inner demons. A launch is literally a seance of your own inner demons. And it's so true. It is so true. I can say from doing after 7+ launches, like for me, what comes up is hopelessness, feelings of like, it's never gonna work. Why didn't people sign up right away? what does this mean about me? Like, I'm a failure. There's something wrong with me. Like, there, everything that could possibly come up, whatever is like under the surface for you is going to come up to the surface. It's going to be uncomfortable, especially in the beginning when you're still building momentum and you're not getting the results that you expected. Okay, this has been the hardest part for me. And also recognizing that that's part of it. That's part of the launch process. And that I get to use this launch as a tool to see what needs to be healed. Because whatever shows up in a launch is impacting you outside of the launch. It's impacting you all the time. It's showing up in your marketing, it's showing up in your conversations, it's showing up in your sales calls or your consults. And so, focusing on healing throughout the launch and unearthing what needs to be worked on in between launches is the purpose. That's how you're able to then launch in the future with success or even land more sales outside of a launch, just in general in your business, is by being in this uncomfortable scenario where you're really putting yourself out there, putting yourself on the line, saying, I have something to offer you. I have something of value. Let me share this value with you. Let me serve you at the highest level. Let me fully show up. Let me go all the way. Right? When you show up at that level, the gunk's going to come to the surface, and that's the opportunity. Can you move through discomfort quickly? Can you get efficient at recognizing the gunk when it comes to the surface, healing it, working with it, and moving through it, and coming back to that energetic alignment so that you can keep going? A launch really is an opportunity to increase resilience. And for example, for me, something that I did in the middle of this launch was I literally took a week off away from my business during the middle of this launch and went to Costa Rica for a week during my birthday. This is an annual trip that I do, and I attend a retreat where we also do a ayahuasca ceremony. And ayahuasca is a psychedelic plant medicine journey, and this was my fourth year going on this ayahuasca ceremony retreat. And I'm going to tell you more about that in a different episode. So stay tuned for that. But in the past, coming back from this trip has always been very challenging for me. Sometimes it's taken me many weeks, many months to kind of like get back in the groove of my business and even get back in the groove of life. Just being away, being on this trip, and also doing a deep psychedelic plant medicine journey and then coming home, like there's a big integration period. So, something that I noticed during this launch is that because I've launched so many times and also I've done this same trip multiple times, and because I'm a different person now than I was in the past, like my integration back from Costa Rica was way smoother. And yeah, it took me a little bit to reset, but at the same time, like I pretty much just proceeded in launch mode. It's like the launch was still happening. I was still active. I still engaged with my business. Like I basically just picked up where I left off. And in the past, that wouldn't have been the case. And so this is evidence of how I've grown in my business. How even with like throwing this crazy different environment monkey wrench in, like I can still show up fully through this launch. I can still bring my legit business owner energy and sold out Scarlet and my commitment into the launch period. Okay, so that's really the value of launching. Like, really, the value comes from unearthing the gunk in your business all the time and using that as a tool to increase your resilience and also to be part of your building momentum process. Okay, lesson number 6 is about expanded capacity. A launch is about expanding your capacity. That is the purpose of it. Because again, you're putting yourself out there really vulnerably. You're putting more effort into your business for a chunk of time when you do it in this format of a launch. You're gathering all of your creative resources and saying, how can I connect with and inspire and share with my people more? And when I have done this multiple times, what I have realized is I have expanded my capacity every single time I launch. I've expanded my capacity and my ability to be with the gunk, be with my shadows, heal the shadows, sit with that discomfort through each launch. The capacity has expanded there. I've expanded my capacity to stay tapped into my energy, to stay in that high vibe, sold out energy space, to maintain my self concept, to maintain my belief, even when it's not going the way that I expected. All of that capacity has been expanded. And also expanding my capacity to, keep showing up all the way to the end and expanding my capacity to actually land those sales and bring those people in, right? This is another capacity that we have to think as business owners, especially as coaches. If you've never coached, your first couple of clients, like that's a really big deal. You're new to this. It takes more energy and effort to hold those clients and to land those sales. And so it's challenging to suddenly be like, okay, and now I'm going to work with 50 people all at once and actually sell 50 people all at once. You have to grow into that level of capacity. Earlier on in my business, I used to only work with 2 or 3 clients at a time. Yes, I wanted more clients, but it was like no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't bring them in. And it's because I didn't have the capacity to work with that many people at that time. I was still building belief in myself, in my work, building the value of my offer, being able to deliver it at a high level, being confident in my ability to sell it to people. Like I had to expand all of my capacity to do that. And so it was so interesting seeing, especially with this launch, my 7th launch, how my capacity has massively expanded in big ways. Because in the past launches, I like in January of this year, I was running one active group and doing this launch for the January round. Okay, so I had to maintain and hold delivering to one group actively and a few one on one clients, and at the same time be putting in all this energy and effort and like activeness, being on and engaged and active for a whole launch period. Earlier on in my business, I couldn't do that. There was a period of time where I tried to launch while maintaining a group and got 0 sales during that period of time. Looking back, I can see that a huge part of that was capacity. I wasn't at the level, the degree to hold an active group and launch a new group and have those conversations and land those sales for the new group. And I wasn't ready to have 2 groups actively going at the same time. That's why it didn't happen. I had to grow into the person, grow into the capacity to be able to do that. And so then flash forward to the capacity expanded in January, where I was able to actively run a group and sell another group. And then if we look at this launch, yes, sales wise, I achieved the same result. I sold like 4 in January and 3 in this April round, but the capacity is totally different because this was the first time ever that I was actively running 2 group rounds at the same time and was preparing for this launch and actively doing this launch for 2 whole months. And I launched this podcast during that period of time. That was a whole new marketing project was to also create this new podcast, which had never existed before, and to show up consistently and committed to that. And I did all of that during this launch. If we look back on 5 year ago, 3 year ago, 1 year ago, Scarlett, she would not have been able to pull that off. It would have been too much to run two active groups, to sell another group, to transition one group off and onboard another group, and to launch this podcast at the same time, and to do as many emails, posts, Instagram lives as I did during that period of time. It wouldn't have happened in the past. Right. So, again, the purpose of the launch is to grow and expand your capacity. And it's really important to see how you are growing in your business and how your capacity is expanding all the time, whether it's from launches or not, but especially when you're really active and engaging in your business, recognizing how that's a catalyst for expanded capacity. And this leads me to lesson number 7, which is redefining success. Because in the past, I have looked at whether my launches was a success or failed based on how many people signed up and if I achieved my goals. But looking at this expanded capacity, it's more clear to see that those numbers of how many people sign up is just one part of the reality. It's just one piece of this puzzle. And so, even though I didn't really hit the goal that I wanted for this launch, when I step back and recognize, wow, actually, I was holding a lot more during this launch than I ever have before. Oh my gosh, this is actually an incredibly successful launch. And now I know I can pull off this. I can pull off running two groups at the same time and having a podcast and preparing for this launch and giving my all into it. So I know that I can do it for the next one and have even more capacity to sell more and bring more people in. So I know that the next launch is going to be sold out. I know that the next launch is going to be even better because this launch was so successful. And to me, what really makes a launch successful is to recognize all of these things that we talked about, right? Doing the work of maintaining the mindset, becoming a new expanded capacity person, using it as a portal to become your next level self, using it as an opportunity to heal the gunk in the shadows, and through all of that, showing up all the way to the end. That's a successful launch. That's a successful business owner because it's easy to quit in a launch when it doesn't feel like it's going well, when you have all this gunk coming to the surface, when your belief is shaking, when you're putting in all this effort and it feels like it's getting you nowhere. If you can do all of that and go all the way to the end, that is a successful launch. That's honestly one of the most important pieces because that's what actually allows the launch to be what it is, which is a catalyst for growth, which is a catalyst for expanding your capacity so that you can have more successful launches in the future. So, those are the 7 lessons from 7 launches. And that is like a launch is a living portal. It changes you as a human. It gets to be the catalyst to become the next level version of you, the next level abundant version of you. It's not just about business numbers and metrics. And it's important to acknowledge the success and the wins that are there for you in a launch or in your business. Recognize where capacity has been expanded. Utilize the launch to its full capacity, milking it, like getting all of the juice out of the launch, all of the lessons, and using it as momentum to fuel into the next launch, into the next period of time. Nothing is wasted, it's all valuable. And again, my purpose here is not to sell you on launching at all. In fact, like I said earlier, you don't need lesson number two. You don't need a launch to make money. And if anything, it's not quite the wisest use of your time in the beginning for your business. You're just better off focusing on having conversations with people, meeting them, and but I will say that I have chosen the scenic route in my business. I have done it the hard way. I have launched because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. It's not. That's a big lesson. It's not. But I'm going to keep launching because I am practicing building this skill set, and this is the way that I do a launch. This is the purpose behind my launching. And this is the way that I use my launch as a catalyst for future growth and future success. Okay. And whether or not you decide to do active launches, know that you can bring all of these lessons into your business every single day. Because really, a launch is just a condensed picture of what it's like to own a business. And so, all seven of these lessons tie into your business, whether you're launching or not. Really sit with each one of these and make sure that you are using your business as a catalyst for growth and expansion so that you can truly step into your next level of success. All right, that's what I have for you this week. 7 lessons from 7 launches. Go out there and crush it, and I'll see you next week.